Well, you can forget the trial of the century. Jeannine Pirro, in breaking news, has filed a motion to dismiss the indictment against former Olympic cyclist Davey Hearn for touching the floating liner that came up from the bottom of the pool, because she finally had to admit something I've been talking about for over 2 weeks, that this floating liner problem in a 7-acre site was not the product of Davey Hearn coming off a 52-mile bike race, seeing a floating piece of liner souvenir and wanting to touch it. That doesn't constitute malicious destruction of federal property of $1,000 in nature to support a felony charge and an indictment. But instead, as I said, Atlantic Industrial, which is the company that Donald Trump hired for anywhere between $1.7 and $14 million to do this, cut rate, cut corner, too fast, shoddy, speedy job, okay, admitted in their own website that they were making all of the repairs not because of a criminal vandalism or a criminal poisoning using toxic chemicals to create algae and ripped off liner. They were doing it pursuant to their warranty. And now in the new, which means there was no criminal conduct, just shoddy workmanship, shoddy installations. I do warranty cases. I know what bad waterproofing looks like. And that's what this looked like. And there's a reason that the waterproofing was coming up in sections from the bottom of the pool. And not only did they dismiss the indictment, but they threw the Department of Interior and Jeannine Pirro's own people, threw Donald Trump under the bus. Wait till Donald Trump reads the motion to dismiss the indictment filed by Jeannine Pirro. Now, stop right there for a minute, folks. You might think it's odd to hear another story about the Department of Justice moving to dismiss their own indictment that they just got. This isn't a motion to dismiss filed by the defense. This is filed by the prosecution. Wait till I read to you and wait till Donald Trump hears what his own lawyers have written. Let me go to the reporting on this. This is a new motion to dismiss filed in the D.C. Superior Court where this case is being handled. And this is what the filing reportedly says. Right? Remember, 7-acre site, big sections of rectangles floating to the surface for which they're blaming poor Davey Hearn. Here's what Jeannine Pirro's office says in their motion. They say the following, that they're going to have to dismiss it because the reflecting pool failure, the damage of this waterproofing system, this 2-layer system of a substrate and then a polyurethane topping, which delaminated in sections when water penetrated it. That what we watched and observed, the floating chunks, was the result, quote, of flawed installation by the contractor. So first they try to throw the contractor under the bus, this Atlantic company, Atlantic Industrial Coatings, who had no experience doing anything quite like this 7-acre reflecting pool installation. And then they say that what Davey saw was the result of that flawed installation. They also go on to say that reflecting pool malfunction or delamination, quote, almost immediately began peeling after the work was completed, like within a day. And they throw the Department of Interior under the bus. That's Doug Burgum's department, Donald Trump's buddy. And they say that the Department of Interior provided less than fulsome information at the outset of this case. That's the National Park Service reporting to the Department of Interior. What, are you kidding me? Then you didn't read what was filed by the Park Service in the case involving the reflecting pool brought from the Cultural Landscape Foundation, because the guy that wrote it didn't talk about criminal vandalism. He said that there was no criminal vandalism that impacted the delamination process, but that huge sections delaminating, and the only other vandalism they saw is people were throwing fence post toppings into the reflecting pool in protest. And now here's where they get around to throwing Donald Trump under the bus. Just wait, everybody. They're going to be filing an amended motion as soon as Donald Trump and Todd Blanche figure out what just happened, because they didn't know, obviously, beforehand. This is what they said. It was not until after the return of the indictment against Davey Hearn that the Department of Interior provided additional documents to the Jeannine Pirro's office in D.C., indicating that the damage to the reflecting pool in June 2026 was the result of flawed installation by the contractor, Atlantic Industrial Coatings, and the rush to complete the project prior to the events associated with the America 250 celebration for Independence Day 2026. Well, who was in charge of the rush? Who cut the corners? Donald Trump. So they throw Donald Trump under the bus. In business, I'm always trying to make smart, informed decisions and get the best for less. But if I'm honest, I haven't looked at my life insurance policy in way too long. Is my coverage enough given today's economic uncertainty? Am I overpaying? And if my health has changed, am I still getting the right protection? That's exactly why I'm finally taking a look with SelectQuote. For over 40 years, SelectQuote has helped more than 2 million Americans find the right life insurance policy for their unique needs. Their licensed agents compare policies from top-rated carriers in as little as 15 minutes, working for you, not the insurance companies, and they do it for free. They can even help many people with pre-existing health conditions get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at selectquote.com/legalaf. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at selectquote.com/legalaf today to get started. That's selectquote.com/legalaf. But do you remember when Jeannine Pirro stood at that podium with an angry fist, shaking her fist about the criminal mischief and destruction of a national monument that Davey Hearn did? Who can forget that? And now it's just a big oops. Play the clip.
Was this part of the pool specifically, if some of was the sealant already partially removed? Did he rip it back? Can you just describe in detail? Because he maintains that it looks the same as it did before he arrived. That's his.
I'm not going to get into the evidence, but what I told you is what our witnesses saw and experienced. There was an effort, a violent effort to rip up the sealant from the bottom of the pool. And irrespective of whether or not, we think that, there is some situation that preceded it, we can state and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he caused damage, and that damage is over $1,000.
Keying in on that, how do you prove that $1,000?
With an expert.
Is that because
come to the trial?
It has to be drained? Is that because it has to be drained?
We'll hear all that at the trial.
Did he have any tools, or was it just his bare hands?
Right now, we believe it's his bare hands, both hands.
So does that indicate in your belief that it was probably damaged before, or do you believe that he
damaged it.
Further, but do you believe it had already been damaged before?
He damaged the pool.
Before he touched it?
He damaged this pool.
But there have been, all these videos, obviously.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got that evidence. Come on in the grand jury. You can testify. Next.
Thank you for your time.
And then after that, Doug Burgum, who's the head of the Department of Interior that she just threw under the bus, he went on ABC to be interviewed. And he said, there are multiple people that were indicted related to this. There was one person that was indicted on a felony named Davey Hearn. And we just found out that he got dismissed. 3 other people were indicted for misdemeanors. But, they'll say anything on television. Here's Doug Burgum saying anything on television.
Half miles of expansion.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the wall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing.
And you're 100% sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely we can. And as we drain it, we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
The photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not this is an industrial liner. Every farmer and rancher in America that's had their pickup liner lined by this sprayed on liner knows that you literally, it would never just like peel off or fall off. This is like a strong material.
Yeah.
And it's the size of 8 football fields. And the only way you can end up with actual slices in one spot and not the other is that someone physically cut it. And so but the pool itself, it's not leaking. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's finally been fixed by President Trump. And the American flag blue is working perfectly.
Okay.
And again, it's beyond me why. I mean, the real scandal is about the fact that the state of our capital was in such total disrepair that some people, no one was reporting about. No one was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah, we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
But it was closed because the largest fireworks display in the country we talked about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
Copy that.
Yet another embarrassment for Todd Blanche and his Department of Justice. Who do you think Jeannine Pirro works for? She works for Todd Blanche, the guy that can't seem to count to 11, let alone 12, to get 12 or 11 votes to have his nomination for Attorney General. He's been dying to get. He's been passed over for the job the last 4 or 5 times. What he didn't have to do as a quid pro quo to get the job, including forming the Jan 6 fund and creating a super pardon immunity release for Donald Trump of tax liability. Does he really need Jeannine Pirro having to dismiss the infamous reflecting pool indictment of Davey Hearn? I mean, come on. But I told you, there was a warranty. This was a warranty job. Once the contractor said 2 weeks ago on its website that this is a warranty job, that means there wasn't any criminal mischief or criminal malicious conduct, and Davey Hearn was off the hook. I even said, Norm, get a copy of that posting on the website for Atlantic Industrial and shove it up their backside. I'm glad we're here together on Legal AF on the MeidasTouch Network. I'm on vacation. But you can't take a holiday with this administration, can you? Until my next report, hit the free subscribe button on Legal AF YouTube channel. I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.